Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Right. Let's get situated. We are talking about episode number 10 of the podcast, the Transforming Anxiety podcast. And today is going to be good fun. I'm getting my tea situated. Everybody got tea or coffee? But tea is better. So episode 10, what we're talking about today, this is going to be the first of a 4-part series. And we are talking about the 3 pillars for freedom from anxiety. So over the past, 20 years or so, I've been somewhat unconsciously perfecting this system because it's the system of how I live my life. And I started really getting diligent about putting this into a system here, over the past 5 years or so, as I've been coaching more and more, as I've been I'm starting to put together a program for you. And so I've needed to kind of compile all of this on paper and lay it all out and see what it looks like and how to organize it into modules and, a process and a step-by-step. How do we do this thing that feels sort of nebulous and squishy because we're dealing with emotions and it's not quantifiable and it's not tangible. So I've really been playing with the system over the past few years, but here a lot lately. And it's become very obvious to me that there are 3 distinct pillars to a system and an overall way of living in order to be completely free of something like anxiety. Now, I want to remind you, I'm not talking about getting rid of anxiety. Okay, we addressed that a few episodes ago. One of the first 4 episodes, we talked about the goal. What is the goal with anxiety? It's not to get rid of anxiety. Anxiety is an emotion. It's not going anywhere. So the goal is telling a better story, right? Telling a different story. The goal is figuring out how to cohabitate with anxiety in a way that doesn't feel so limiting and so debilitating. So these 3 pillars, which is what today's episode of the podcast, episode number 10, is all about. And then, today we're going to do the overview. We're going to talk about each of the pillars. In the next 3 episodes, the next 3 coming weeks and Facebook Live videos, we're going to go into each pillar individually and talk a little bit more details on each one. So I'd love to hear what questions you have or how this looks for you, because the beauty of this and the first 2 pillars are pretty universal. The last pillar, there's a lot that is tailored to each specific person and your life and your circumstances and your your own desires, what you want things to look like. So, okay, let's get into it. I've got a cheat sheet linked for you here in the comments for the video. So grab your cheat sheet. It's at kellyhanlonmccormick.com/podcast/10, the number 10, 10. We're in double digits now. It's like little podcast is growing up. Okay, so the 3 pillars. First of all, mindset. I'll talk more about these a little bit. Second of all, habits. And third of all is lifestyle. So let's talk about mindset first. Now, you may be thinking we've talked a lot about mindset in the podcast already, and we have. We've talked about the model. We've talked about unconscious and conscious thinking, those 2 different parts of our cognition. We've talked about belief systems. We've talked about doing thought downloads and using those thought downloads to do unintentional and intentional models. How do you feel your feelings? We've talked through a lot of this internal thought work that has to do with mindset. So those are great episodes to revisit. There's a few things we haven't touched on yet, and one of the most important is fixed versus growth mindset. And I don't have the actual book, but I'm going to pull up because I'm listening to it and see if you can see this. Maybe you can't see this at all. Mine, you can see the title. All right, there's a fantastic book called Mindset. It's by Carol Dweck, and it is based on all of her research in this field about fixed mindsets and growth mindsets. So we haven't talked too much about that. Well, we haven't talked at all about that yet, but we'll be talking more about that next week in the mindset specific podcast. So the idea of mindset is that, this is the missing puzzle piece, I think, for most of us. They teach us about algebra, they teach us about the capitals of all the states and history, and all of that stuff is great. But I don't know why in our education system we don't teach our children the importance of mindset and how much control they have over their lives when they start to clean up how they're thinking, paying attention to how they're feeling, so that they can control how they're acting from that place. And then ultimately they get to be in charge of all of the results, the outcomes that they have in their life. So, this is the piece that I think, as a coach, it's the newest for people. It's the piece that people haven't come across, most likely. So mindset is a huge part of what we need to do and pay attention to. This is a huge part of unlocking the mystery of something like anxiety and figuring out, where does this come from? Why do I feel this way? Why is this such a pattern for me? How have I been thinking this way over and over again? What am I believing about myself and anxiety? So all of that has to do with mindset. So like I said, there's a lot tied up in there. Thought work, the model, conscious and unconscious thinking, fixed versus growth mindsets, belief systems, all of this is tied up in mindset. So that is the first pillar, and that's the first thing that we really address. It's the first thing that I do with new clients when I start coaching with a new client. So the second pillar, this is maybe the one that was the most surprising to me, is habits. And let's talk about habits first, and then we'll go into lifestyle. When I first started coaching, I was a devout yogi and have always kind of paid attention to what I'm eating and what works for my body and what doesn't. And I've just always kind of been interested and fascinated in that. My husband taught me the sacred power of sleep. He is a sleep devotee and converted me early on to the importance of sleep, and have raised our kids that way. And it's just a very important thing. Anyway, this is all lifestyle stuff. But all of that I was kind of naturally practicing. And I was super excited about everything that I was learning in the coaching world, which all felt very mindset related, right? Thoughts, beliefs, conscious and unconscious thinking, all of that was brand new to me through the world of coaching. So when I first started coaching, I thought, okay, it's these two things. It's this whole lifestyle element and people moving their body, paying attention to how they eat, and it's the coaching, right? In cleaning up their mind and giving them all of the tools and the resources for how to do that work. So these were the two things that I coached around and on all the time. And over the years, what I have come to learn and see as I've done this with not only with myself, but with dozens and dozens and dozens of clients, is that habits are kind of the bridge between mindset and lifestyle. So understanding and being able to master habit creation and how to break and let go of negative or bad habits that aren't serving and working for you, that was like the bridge between the mindset and the lifestyle piece for me. So in the show notes for this week, and you can find that over on the website that I've linked to, kellyhanlonmccormick.com/podcast/10, I've listed some fantastic books where habits are concerned. And they all take a totally different approach to habits, which is kind of cool. And habits for me, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a nerdy thing, it seems like, but habits are what we want to be cultivating. The more that we can make habits out of mindset and lifestyle, the more it's like the simpler and easier and smoother our lives are. So we may be able to become very aware of the lifestyle changes we want or need to make using our mind, and vice versa. We can do a lot with mindset and lifestyle, but habits are like what cements all of this. So I just think habits are kind of it's the pillar number 2. It's kind of the cool bridge between mindset and lifestyle. So pillar number 3 is lifestyle. And as I mentioned before, for me, this had a lot to do with my yoga practice, with what I was eating, sleep and the importance of getting enough quality sleep every single night. But it also has to do with things like meditation and career, financial health, relationships, joy. There were all these aspects that kind of fit into, the holistic lifestyle that we need in order to really move the ball forward. So it was like, okay, you can get your mind clean around all of this stuff, but what are we cleaning up our minds around? Most of the time, well, 100% of the time, maybe, I don't know. Our mindset is getting cleaned up around all of the lifestyle choices that we're making. So it's about, there's so much deliberateness to all of this. There's so much intention that goes into what do we need to cultivate? What do we need to create, right? Clean up your mind so that you can have the lifestyle that you want to have. And by lifestyle, I don't mean weekly massages or driving a certain kind of car or living in a certain kind of house or going on certain kind of vacations. That's not the lifestyle stuff I'm talking about. The lifestyle stuff I'm talking about is what are you eating at every single meal, every single day, every single week. That's a lifestyle, right? Honoring bedtime and making sleep important. That is a lifestyle, right? Understanding, learning about, practicing things like meditation, yoga, going for daily walks. These things are lifestyles. So I'm not talking about material stuff when I talk about lifestyle. I'm not talking about what you can get or, those, I think we use that term lifestyle as like, this is the lifestyle that they are accustomed to. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the things that you are doing every day, things like going to work, what you're eating, sleeping, moving your body, the relationships that you have, your financial health. Are you creating time and space for joy, right? Are you doing things that you want to be doing? If not every day, at least every week. So these are the sorts of lifestyle things that I'm talking about. So again, the lifestyle stuff is, to me, it was super important because I was seeing, again, I always use myself as the guinea pig, right? Because I was the one I was trying to free from anxiety. I wanted to transform my own experience with this. So how better to do this than to experience all of this in my own body? And I could see how powerful a daily yoga practice was. Not a once a week yoga practice, not a twice a week yoga practice. And I know people will say, well, don't you think that's kind of intense? Don't you think that's kind of a lot? Practicing yoga every single day, being on your mat between 5 and 5:30 every single morning. I don't think it's that intense. No, I don't have time to feel like crap. That quote by Gabby Bernstein? It's like, do you have time to work out every day? Or would you rather take your time to feel like crap every day? It's up to you. One of the two is going to happen, right? I would rather practice yoga every day. That's a no-brainer for me. So it's an everyday sort of thing. I pay attention to what I eat every single day, right? I don't have I'm not good during the week or good when I'm at home or good on the weekend or whatever. I don't really have cheat days. I pay attention to what I'm eating all the time. I make sure that I'm honoring bedtime all the time, right? If I'm staying up late, it's only because I can sleep in the next day, right? So, and that's so rare. Any of my friends who see this will be laughing. They'll know that the McCormicks are notorious for being the ones who are the first to leave the party. My kids are always complaining, why do we have to be the first to leave every time? It's because we are the ones who are taking care of our bedtime. That's why. So all of these lifestyle things go into freedom from anxiety as well. And I think it's important that we really honor this entire system, all three pillars. And there's so many things that go into each of the pillars. The cheat sheet goes into a little more detail and just kind of gives you it lays everything out and kind of gives you a place to be able to look at it all at once. Because each pillar, none of these are simple, right? They're all like their own rabbit hole of work and exploration. But I think it's all very fun and exciting. But lifestyle was like, you can't just eat healthy and never move your body, right? And expect to feel great. You can't just sleep well, but totally ignore your finances and expect for your life to go the way that you want it to go. So it's about bringing all of those holistic aspects in and really, taking care of every element that makes up our lives. And the way to do that, of course, is by cleaning up your mind and paying attention to your mindset and paying on to yourself. What are you believing? What are you thinking? How are you feeling about it? How do you behave around it? So all of those things are the mindset, but you can kind of see like the habit thing, that's what brings it all together. If you have bad habits, they're going to be working against your mindset and your lifestyle choices. Once you know what you want, right? When you're creating lifestyle choices that you want to be making, you have mindset choices, thoughts and beliefs and everything that you want to be practicing. The way to really cement all of this is to master your habits around it and put all of this on default mode. So it's like when you're on autopilot, you just know, here's what I eat, here's how I sleep, here's how I budget, here's the people I hang out with, because these are the people that lift me up and, support me and encourage me and love me. This is what joy looks like. This is on autopilot. This is just how I live my life. When we create them into habits, right? And it's something that it's not consciously having to happen. It's just unconsciously. This is just what we do day in and day out. Then you're setting yourself for true freedom. And that's what all of this is about. So the 3 pillars: mindset, habits, and lifestyle. Grab your cheat sheet, kellyhanlonmccormick.com/podcast/10. And of course, listen to episode 10 of the Transforming Anxiety podcast, where I explore all of this a little bit more and go into, just touching on each of the pillars. And like I said, now for the next 3 weeks, we're going to go into each pillar individually. So we're going to talk about mindset next week. That'll be episode number 11. Habits will be episode number 12. And then lifestyle will be episode number 13. So exciting stuff. So I hope everybody's doing great. I hope you guys are having an awesome week so far. You can tell the weather here is going to be amazing today. Tank tops, ceiling fans going. So we're all excited to be outside. Caretaking for bedtime has gotten a little bit more complicated with this great weather and the daylight that's lasting longer. But we're getting through. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing great. Feel free to send me a DM, reach out to me if you're interested in scheduling a free mini session. I would love to chat with you and talk you through these 3 pillars and see how we can tailor this to you. You can schedule a free mini session with me, kellyhanlonmccormick.com/coaching. Just click on the book now and you will be able to find a time that works for you. So I look forward to seeing you there. In the meantime, have an awesome week. I will see you next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central right here on Facebook, where we're going to dive into mindset and we're going to talk even more about the fixed versus growth mindset. We'll dig into the model again and revisit some of that, beliefs, thought work, thought downloads. Something else we haven't talked about is Byron Katie and her work, which is called The Work, and it's amazing. So all of that will be coming next week, and I will see you then. Until then, you guys take care. Have an awesome day.